All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Sorry, I think I'm supposed to stand right here. Thanks for joining today. So my name is Ju. Sorry, I'm not used to standing in one spot, but I'm with Red Hat, and today my topic is about OpenStack Personas. So thank you for joining. How many people in the audience here knows what a persona is? Okay, so this is not something most people aren't aware of. So that's a good thing. So what I'd actually like to talk about today, and before I get to it, let me introduce myself. I'm a member of the technical staff with Red Hat, and what I typically do is get involved early on in the planning and design part of the product, whether it's OpenStack or any other product. And so primarily that's dealing with product definitions, requirements, use cases, working with interaction designers on designing the UI, and so on. Let me jump ahead. So just a brief agenda of what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about what we've done in OpenStack with regards to personas, how you can help, and also give you an intro to some of the personas we've actually created. All right, so just to get everyone on board, because I know this is being live streamed, what are personas? For those of you who are not familiar, it's a representation of a real user. It's an easy way or simple way to actually get people thinking in the mindset of an actual user. And what I mean by that is oftentimes we'll find that developers, architects, and so on, if they don't have the context of what the user is trying to accomplish. And in terms of OpenStack, these could be the cloud operators, administrators, the self-service end users, or anyone that interacts with the cloud. We want to get into the mindset of how they think, how they actually perform certain tasks within a workflow in order to accomplish certain tasks. And by that, what we'd like to do is to get developers, anyone who is involved with contributing to OpenStack, to start thinking in terms of real-world scenarios and real-world users on how they're actually consuming OpenStack. So the emphasis is to actually take real data and actually create these personas, which is really a manifestation of an aggregation of users we've actually spoken with. And we'll go through a little bit of that in a little bit. And with that in mind, the idea is to say, if you're developing some code or actually working on the design side, say, how would John or Jane actually do this? What are the steps they might follow? And so on. So why do you use this? I think I mentioned before, it's really to get into the mindset of the users. So what I found when I first got involved with OpenStack is there seemed to be a gap between what was being implemented and being designed versus how end users or actual cloud users were going to actually use OpenStack. And a lot of the times, it has led to complexity by not considering how the actual consumer was going to actually consume OpenStack. And so one of the challenges with that is how do you actually bridge that gap between the folks developing OpenStack and actually the people actually consuming it. So one of the ways we thought about was actually to try to drive it through personas to get everyone to work on the same page, have the same set of understanding of what the users are trying to do as far as goals, the kinds of challenges they have, the kinds of frustrations that they're dealing with. And by having everyone agree and know what the same set of folks are doing, we can all speak in the same language. So it's not a universal language converter, but it's really to benchmark and baseline so that we have a common understanding to have a informative and hopefully a good discussion going forward. So what are we going to do about it? So late last year, I spoke with a bunch of people, and there was enough interest within the community, and some of the folks are actually in the audience today. What we did was we actually started a working group called the OpenStack Personas Working Group, and we spoke with companies like Red Hat, IBM, Rackspace, Mirantis, Puppet Labs, and so on. And what we did was we formed this working group to actually work on developing, personas that we could actually drive into OpenStack and actually hopefully get it more adopted mainstream. So we're still fairly early in the development of the personas, but let me kind of share some of the things we've done. Between the, I want to say around November timeframe and now, what we did was we actually developed some kind of screener, and we actually sent an invitation out to the community and asked people to participate in it so that we could find some people to share their cloud experiences. Okay, it's a bad habit. I keep touching the computer and I keep forgetting this clicker. So what we did was we actually had a lot of interviews. I wouldn't say that we've actually finished our interviews. It's going to be an ongoing process, just like coding. You're never quite finished. There's always room for improvement. And so what we did was we initially targeted 3 different personas. One was a cloud administrator, operator. The other was the self-service user, and the other was the developer. And out of that, we interviewed quite a few, and we've actually created a series, or I shouldn't say a series, a set of personas to begin with. And so let's take a look quickly, and we've got 2. One is called Ben, and the other is called Daishi. And these are actually based on real interviews we've had with various people within the community. So it's very much work in progress, but this is Ben Schofield, whom I can't quite pronounce his name. He's a cloud architect administrator at a Fortune 500 company. And what we've done is we've posed some questions to this particular user and asked him to share his thoughts around OpenStack as well as Horizon, how his company is using OpenStack, where he thinks his company is in adopting OpenStack for all of its entire enterprise IT in the long run, and what are some of the key obstacles he's facing today. And so with Daishi, who's the next user that I'm going to show you, it's the same thing. And the notion behind showing these personas, and we'll make this all publicly accessible so you can take a look at it later, is for you to understand, for example, how do they use Horizon today? How many users are using it? What kinds of problems are they having? For example, I know when we spoke with somebody and he was more of an operator administrator, one of the things he had said is, yes, I like using Horizon as a UI, but I'm still challenged on using it for administrative purposes because, for example, I can't actually spin up a VM without using static IP addresses, so I use the CLI. So those kind of examples, but that's just one example. There's more data behind all of this. If you're interested in hearing a little bit more about how we went about this, we have a talk on Wednesday about it that talks in further detail about it. So I know I'm running out of time, so it's a very short precursor to more discussion about Persona. So I invite you to come listen to our talk on Wednesday. And in the meantime, if you'd like to participate in the Persona Working Group, or even in UX in general, because the idea behind this Persona Working Group and a lot of the other efforts that's underway in the community as we're trying to improve the user experience for the end users in the long run of OpenStack, because we're not there yet. And today, I know when we heard a lot of the keynotes today, there was a lot of emphasis on trying to deliver what the real world end users or super users want, or the operators, so to speak. Let me kind of jump to the next slide. This is the Wednesday talk I was talking about. There's also a link to a sort of a consolidated list of all the UX sessions, as well as ops sessions, things that are interesting more from a how people consume OpenStack perspective. So do come to our talk if you're interested. And lastly, if you're interested in joining the Persona Working Group or you'd like to participate in our Persona interviews so that you can help contribute to this, and this doesn't require coding, it's just sitting down for a 1-hour chat, we'd love to hear from you. And with that, that's all I had to share today. Does anyone have any questions? Sure.